It was hard. It was very hard for me because I felt like I was doing everything right. I
Mhm.
felt like my husband and I, we were doing a good job of making sure that he was going to the doctor, making sure that
Mhm.
he was on the right medications that would balance the chemistry of
Yeah, yeah.
his body and all that. We just thought that we were doing the right thing. And then it hit about a year ago where he tried to commit suicide.
Join us at the inaugural Ascend Summit, where empowerment and healing become part of your new reality. Presented by You Are Not Your Trauma podcast, this summit is your gateway to growth, connection, and discovering your true potential. And it's all happening June 28th and 29th in Dallas, Texas. Don't miss your chance to be a part of something life-changing. Early bird tickets are on sale now. Secure your spot today by going to ascend.youarenotyourtrauma.com.
Welcome to the You Are Not Your Trauma podcast, a show that reminds you that you are not alone, your experiences matter, and you are not defined by what you've been through. Each week, you will hear from the host and invited guests who have either personal or professional experience with trauma. They will share their stories and strategies for overcoming past wounds and beginning the journey toward healing and wholeness. Now, here's your host, a gifted speaker, author, coach, and entrepreneur, Harriet M. Harris.
Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of You Are Not Your Trauma, the podcast that brings hope, healing, and inspiration to those who have experienced life's most challenging moments. I'm your host, Harriet M. Harris, and I am so glad that you're here today. I hope that this show is an important part of your healing journey. It's here in this space that we peel back the layers of trauma, not just to expose it, but to understand and overcome it. Now, today, we're exploring how the hardships that we endure can profoundly deepen our capacity for empathy. We'll discuss the transformative effect of personal pain on our ability to connect with others, the challenges and the benefits of this increased empathy, and how we can balance it with the necessary self-care to avoid emotional burnout. Now, I'm honored to welcome Candice Hayes back to the show. Candice was a guest on the mental health awareness panel, and she is back. That means she liked me a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, Candice has navigated the waters of life with undeniable grace and determination. She's not only a seasoned entrepreneur, but she's also providing top-tier janitorial services to an eclectic mix of high-profile clients. And she's also an author, a mental health advocate, and a loving matriarch. Candice, welcome back. It is fantastic to have you with me again.
Thank you.
Now, Candice, could you just begin by telling us a little bit about what you do?
So let's see a little bit what I do. I'm a
Mhm.
wife, I'm a mother, and a grandmother. And actually, I have two businesses. I also have a janitorial business and a candle business as well. And so my cleaning business, my janitorial business, I've been in business for 16 years with that particular business. And my candle business has been for the last four years now.
Okay.
And then in the process, I've written a couple of books. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that. Yeah.
It's wonderful. Now, before we dive into our conversation with Candice, we're going to take a moment for a very quick commercial break. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Thanks to our sponsor, Beehive Dallas. To translate your ideas into a quality podcast, you need a good studio. Bring your voice to the Beehive Dallas podcast studio. Located in the heart of the Dallas Design District, their cozy studio has easy-to-use professional recording equipment with 4 microphones and an adjoining conference room for planning and breaks. If you like the way we sound today, you should visit Beehive Dallas.
Welcome back to You Are Not Your Trauma. Again, we're here with Ms. Candice Hayes discussing the deepened compassion that often emerges from surviving trauma. Now, Candice, if you're comfortable, let's start at the beginning. Could you share with us a bit about how your journey began?
Okay, absolutely. So my journey began about 7 years ago with my son. He had a psychotic break, and it was at the age of 19. 5 years prior to that, he was just having like really bad headaches, and we were taking him to the doctor and the neurologist, and they were just like, it's just bad migraines, gave him medication for it. And fast forward to the time his first psychotic break was something that my husband and I just, how do you say, it was unexpected. It was very challenging with the psychotic break. We didn't know anything about mental illness, mental health, none of that. So his first psychotic break, it was more like he began with the hallucinations. And then it went into like he broke out almost like into a seizure. And it was really challenging for us. I'll tell you that much. And so that was the very first time. And the very first time, he spent about 2 weeks in the psychiatric ward. And we thought that the medicines would be conducive to his body chemistry and all that. And so that was 2 weeks before my daughter had got married. And then after she got married, he had another one where he ran off, and we had to call the police because my husband and I, we just couldn't catch him. He just said, I can't take this anymore. And he ran out. And this was new to him. So this was different for him as well. So it's just, the whole dynamic of it was challenging for us all. So 2 weeks after my daughter got married, he ran off. We had to call the police. And at that particular time, that's when he was wearing a hoodie. And that's when all the shootings and stuff with young Black men. I called and I said, listen, we have a son. He is a Black male. He is wearing a hoodie. I'm just letting you know he is suffering from a mental illness. I'm letting you guys know ahead of time. He has run off. He's taken off. So I just need you guys to understand what is going on. So they found him, and he wasn't far from the house. So they found him, and they went ahead and transported him to the hospital. So,
okay.
Yeah. So that particular time, they had to evaluate him even more. So after that, he went into he was in a clinic for 21 days to make sure the medicines were going to work this time. It was going to balance out and all that. And after we met with the doctors, the staff, and all that, and I'm just thinking to myself, this is something that's going to he's going to do well with it. I'm just thinking in my mind, he'll recover from this. No big deal. This is just maybe something that just happened. And the doctor asked my husband and I, he said, okay, so do you have any questions? And I said, yes, I do have a question. How is this medication? What are the side effects to this medication? And he said, well, it's plenty side effects to any medications. And then the trigger for me was, he says, but I want to tell you this. This is something that he will be on for the rest of his life. And I just sat back in my chair, just like you're doing, and just thought
Mm,
about, and I just thought about, he's only 19 years old. His life has just began. Like, and then as he was talking, how your mind just goes like, you're thinking of things like, oh my God, this is my baby.
mm-hmm,
This is the youngest
mm-hmm.
child. And what are we going to do? And as he was talking, my mind was just going, just
Racing.
all kind of places. And it was just like,
Right.
it was like something was covering my ear while he was talking, as I was thinking of all the things um,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
about my son. And he says, and I'll tell you another thing, if he must take this medicine, because if he doesn't, this will be bad for him if he gets off of this medicine. And so, which of course, anytime your body needs something, it's, and as far as the brain chemistry and all, that's what he was trying to explain to me. But at
Right.
the same time, then mother guilt hit. And then,
Mm,
all the things start hitting like, okay, you're a bad mom. Why didn't you see this ahead of time? And me thinking, what could I've done to prevent this? And all of that. And I was just sitting there, just like in a zone. So that's how it went. And then after that, it was just like more of a, that's when my husband and I start more so, and that's where you get into like the caregiving part of it, like taking them
mm-hmm.
to the doctor, taking them to
Yeah.
the psychiatrist, making sure all of these things are in line. And then my husband and I, what we did was we readjusted our schedules just for our son. Sometimes my husband would take him, sometimes I would have to take him. So we just readjusted our schedules. But here's the thing, it was years before my husband and I were able just to just take a vacation. And if we did, if it was because we didn't want to leave him with anyone. You know what I'm saying? We
Right.
felt like it was our responsibility to take care
Mm-hmm.
of him. And then with the stigma of how mental illness is,
Yeah.
some family members don't understand. They just see all the stuff that's on TV that's not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily true
True.
how goes go with the medications and all that. They just see the stuff that's on TV.
Right, right. So let's circle back around to you talked about mom guilt.
Mhm.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. Uh, it was hard. It was very hard for me because I felt like I was doing everything right. I
Mhm.
felt like my husband and I, we were doing a good job of making sure that he was going to the doctor, making sure
Mhm.
that he was on the right medications that would balance the chemistry,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
his body and all that. We just thought that we were doing the right thing. And then it hit about a year ago where he tried to commit suicide. And I walked in a room. Well, what happened? This is what happened. I was getting ready to go out to drop off some towels for my staff at one of our client buildings, and it was just an unction that said you need to just stay home. So I stayed home.
Mm,
And so I went back to my candle studio that's in the back of our house. And I just started making candles. And I needed to ask him something. So I walked to the room where he was in, and I just heard something like somebody chuck, like
oh my
that.
gosh.
And so I opened the door. I was like, what is that noise? What is going on? And so I opened the door, and he was hanging from the ceiling. And
Mm,
then my heart started racing and I just started shaking. And then all of the guilt start coming back and then saying, now you are the worst mom ever. He doesn't want to, he's trying to take his own life and you're trying to do this and you're trying to, it was just everything was hitting me at that time. And then trying to get him down, untie him, and it was just
mm,
my body just started it and the sound, that sound that he made, I can't get it out of my head. You know what I'm saying? That's something that
yeah.
I can't, I mean, I can shut it off, but it's something that It was the worst sound ever. It was the worst sound ever. And
Now, now, how
yeah,
old was he at this point?
at this point he was he was probably about 22. Yeah.
So walking in on that,
Mhm.
I can't even imagine. So seeing that, I cannot imagine what that was like. But I know you shared in our previous video that was traumatic for you.
Yes.
I'm very sorry that you experienced that. And it is my hope and prayer that your son is doing okay now.
Mhm.
But Candice, in your opinion, how can going through something traumatic lead to an increased sense of empathy? Like, how has that changed for you?
It's really changed me to be more sensitive to just mothers in general with children. Also, not just with children that has a mental illness, but just with children with other disabilities. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? If it's autism, if they're if just all kind of different other disabilities that a kid might have, you already empathize with them. But
Yeah.
like you have a child and you're going through some of those similar situations, you
Mm-hmm.
empathize more, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, and you, as far as the caregiving part of it, as far as always having to adjust your schedule, and sometimes you get burnt out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why I'm always talking about just being more of a self-care advocate, being a
Mm-hmm.
voice to the voiceless. Like, let's do something good today that's going to make you feel good about yourself. This candle, have a day to relax. If it's just 10 or 15 minutes. So, because
Right.
sometimes that's maybe all that you need is like a 10 to
Mm-hmm.
15-minute break. If it's just to go outside, get some sunlight, or if it's
Yeah.
just take a warm bath, or and just burn some candles and just relax your mind and reset and regroup.
Now, it's been said that heightened empathy after trauma or after experiencing trauma can present its own challenges. Now, how do you manage these without dealing with the burnout that you mentioned?
For me, now I've written a journal, and that journal is the Hope Journal.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, what I have done, and even through that, what I did was I just start journaling. Journaling helped me to release certain things that I needed to read
Yeah.
to get off of my chest for to help. And if it's for goal setting, if it's just for healing or for therapy, and it was more so therapy for me as journaling. So that's what I've been doing, and I'll continue to do that and encourage others to journal. It's so many
Yeah.
benefits to journaling.
That is so true. I know I hit a healing roadblock, I'll call it. Like I felt like I was cruising on my journey and then it was like, oh, here, this is something. This is a box that we're going to open. And what I did was every day, because I honestly, I had a day where I just laid in bed, like really playing into it. And then when I pulled myself up and out of that, I was like, I got to write this stuff down. Like, I got to get this out. So, and what was interesting is the questions that I answered had nothing to do with what I was experiencing in the moment, but just by writing things, just answering these questions, it began to help me to release some of the emotions I was feeling. And while those things were not directly connected, they were indirectly connected, and I didn't even realize it. So I wish I was more consistent with journaling. I'm working on that. But I definitely can agree that there is so much power in writing things down.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
Now, Candice, have there been instances where you've seen empathy play a crucial role in someone's healing journey or their healing process?
Have I seen it? Like for other people?
Yeah, so like you being empathetic to other people and it helping them in their healing process.
Yeah, yeah, because actually that's what I've been doing. If I see, and then too, it could be somebody that's going through grief that needs a healing. Of course, you need healing from grief.
Yeah.
So I have suggested particular people get in my book, and sometimes I'll just be a blessing and just sow it into someone's life. And that is another way of them receiving it and then also them
Mm-hmm.
seeing what they're going through. So
Yeah.
yes, I've seen that. Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
so that was a way I've encountered it as far as in a personal level.
That is so sweet. That's so nice of you to actually sow it to someone who, because sometimes I think people don't know what they need.
Right.
When they're going through a tough time. They don't even know where to begin to
Yeah.
know to what to do. So it's hard to know what exactly is going to help you. So I think that's beautiful that you do that.
Thank you.
Now, what kind of advice would you give to trauma survivors who might feel overwhelmed by their own, like their deepened empathy? Because sometimes like empathy can be like this border between people pleasing, right?
Mhm.
So when people are feeling overwhelmed by that excess empathy, maybe, what kind of advice would you give them?
First, I would say get the professional help that you need because
Mhm.
that's going to take you a long way. Also, take time out for yourself as far as your emotional well-being. Take those self-care days that you need and build from that. That's what I would suggest. And most of all, pray. Build yourself up and pray and speak life to your situation. Because if you're not saying anything, you're not creating anything. And just speak positive words over the situation. Because we can look at the negative all day long and talk about the negative all
Mm-hmm.
day long. But
Yeah,
at some point, we have to turn it around and say how we want it to look.
absolutely.
Even if it's far away from how you want it to look, but just confess those things, how you want it to look, how you wanted to see it go.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
true. There's so much power in our words and in us professing or confessing what it is that we want. So I think that's a very good advice is making sure that we turn it around
Mhm.
because you made a very good point. We can focus on the negative all day long, but we fail to remember and to highlight the positive. And I know I have been guilty of that even
Mhm.
recently. And I was like, hold up, girl. I had to pull myself all the way together because that is so much harder.
It is.
So, as a person who is empathetic, I think they call them empaths, how do you receive empathy? Like when someone is trying to show you empathy, how do you receive it?
I'll receive it. I'll say, well, thank you.
Yeah.
And then sometimes we need that encouragement just as much as
Yeah.
anybody else. And then sometimes people will have that sense of pride and say, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'm good." No, I I'm not doing good today. If that's how you feeling, that's just how you feeling.
Yeah.
Because and here's the thing, sometimes people are the way they are because of what they've been going through or what they're going
Mm-hmm.
through in the current moment.
Yeah.
So we have to be sensitive to all of that. So yeah, I welcome it. I welcome, like, if somebody wants to encourage me, I welcome it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that. I needed that. And if somebody did that to me, they asked about my son, they text me, they asked about my son, and
Mm-hmm.
then she says, "Well, I'm praying for you." And something else she says, I said, "Well, thank you so much. Thank you for even thinking about me.
Yeah.
I needed that. Thank you so much." And it did. It did something for me because
Yeah.
you just never know what people are dealing with at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's
And
true.
sometimes that encouraging word can just shift and change for a person their whole mood.
Absolutely. It will. And that was the reason I wanted to ask you how you received it being an empathetic person, because a lot of times, especially trauma survivors, they don't feel worthy. We don't feel worthy to receive the good things that
A good
people are
thing.
giving to us. So, and and I don't even know if it's pride or just lack of value, right?
Mhm.
Lack of value in themselves. So that was one reason I wanted to ask that, because I'm glad of your response, because that I want our listeners to know that even if you are the empathetic person, the person that's pretty much known for being there and supporting others, but be able to receive that for yourself, because like you said earlier, it's your cup filled as well.
That's
So,
it. That's
and
it.
I want to make sure they know to see the value in themselves.
That's it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, Candice, thank you so much. This has been an incredible discussion. I really appreciate you sharing what you have gone through with your son. I appreciate just your vulnerability here, because I know it's not always easy to have these conversations, but for the person that you helped, I'm thanking you for them as well, because there's somebody out there listening that has or is even going through something similar that you're going through. So thank you so much for sharing with us and your journey, your wisdom with us. So we're going to take another quick break, guys, but we are going to return and we're going to wrap up this incredible conversation and get Candice's final thoughts. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Imagine having resources at your fingertips that support you through every step of your healing journey. That's exactly what you'll get with the You Are Not Your Trauma app. Access guided meditations that find your peace, read inspiring stories that resonate with your experiences, and join a community that truly understands. But that's not all. Dive into the Healing Chronicles and participate in community challenges. It's more than an app. It's a companion on your journey of self-discovery and healing. Download the You Are Not Your Trauma app today and join a community where your story matters and your healing journey is honored. Find us on the App Store and Google Play Store. Your journey to healing starts now.
And we are back. Again, Candice, want to thank you for joining me today and for sharing. So now I want to know, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners?
Final thoughts would be take care of yourself. Don't neglect taking care of yourself. Do something that's going to make you feel good about yourself. If it's just dressing up and putting on makeup, and if you just have to sit in front of the mirror and just take some pictures by yourself, just do that, because it will change your whole energy. It'll change your whole mood.
Yeah.
And then if you're needing the help, don't be scared to ask for help. Talk to a professional. Get the help you need, and don't worry about that stigma that's out there in our culture, because at the end of the day, you need to do what's best for you and not worry about the people bondage. Get out of people bondage. You stay in people bondage too long, you'll be bound forever.
Ooh, that's something. Bound forever. Well, thank you again, Candice. So now I want to invite our listeners to join the conversation. I'd like to invite you to share how you've used empathy as a tool for healing, to heal for yourself or to help others heal. I want you to share your stories with us on social media with hashtag empathy heals. And be sure to tag You Are Not Your Trauma podcast on Facebook, IG, or TikTok. Do a video. I promise we will watch. But let's create a community where we can just all grow and share together. Now, as we close today's episode, remember that the path to healing is often paved with the empathy that we create, not just towards others, but towards ourselves as well. Because as Candice has pointed out, we are so important. And it is important to take care of ourselves. So it's just as important to be empathetic with ourselves as it is to be with other people. Now, y'all, I have already announced that the Ascend Summit 24 is happening this summer. We are 48 days away. It is happening June 28th and 29th in Dallas, Texas. So mark your calendars. It is going to be an incredible opportunity to hear from experts, connect with fellow survivors, and discover new strategies to aid your journey. Y'all, it's going to be so powerful because we are not only going to have speakers and panelists, but we're also going to have breakout sessions and we're going to have a resource fair. So we want you to come and connect with the resources that you need so that when you get back, you don't just have inspiration, you have application and you are ready to heal and move forward. We want you to ascend right on about that bad place into a brand new, bright, and happy place full of joy and healing. So don't forget to get your tickets. Go to ascend.youarenotyourtrauma.com. Tickets are still available. Now, to each of our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of You Are Not Your Trauma podcast. Your presence is a vital part of this collective journey. If you found today's episode helpful, don't forget to share it with someone who can benefit from the information that Candice shared. Also, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the show. You can check out the website, www.youarenotyourtrauma.com, to leave feedback, request to be a guest on the show, subscribe to the show, get information on our show guests, or to get information about advertising on You Are Not Your Trauma podcast. You can connect with You Are Not Your Trauma podcast on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok at You Are Not Your Trauma podcast. And if you have a story to share, please email me at contact@harrietmharris.com. Now, don't forget, the You Are Not Your Trauma app is available. It has more resources and community support. It is a fantastic tool to accompany you on your healing journey. It is available on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. So until next time, take care of yourself and remember, you are not your trauma. Bye-bye.